Hello everybody, it's Holly from Geneva Academy, and today we're going to speak about climate change and global warming. So, Patrick, I've heard you talk a lot about governments controlling the weather, but do you have any proof?
Well, what you've seen increasingly over the last 30 years is a plethora of documentation that's been released into the public sphere detailing two parallel lines of endeavor. One is the US military arming the climate as an instrument of war. The other is scientists' plans to control the weather, geoengineering as a technological solution to the question of climate change and global warming. Now, what I propose is that these two lines of endeavors have merged, and they've merged, amongst other things, in terms of how to sell these programs to the public, what we would call psychological operations.
I think I know where you are going with that. How can you say that global warming, climate change isn't happening when that's still science?
Always question civil science.
I will absolutely not accept that the extreme weather events we've grown so accustomed to, heat waves and droughts, forest fires in the Amazon and in California, earthquakes and hurricanes, all these are just some elaborate US government program? Are you a climate denialist?
Always question civil science and ask who benefits. Is there a political agenda? Look, the US military has never kept their plans to control the weather a secret. Well, geoengineers have come out of the closet with their intentions to engineer the climate as a way to cool the earth as a response to climate change.
Okay.
The only relevant question to ask is to what extent these programs have already been deployed. And there's a lot of evidence they have, including direct observational evidence.
Okay, what are some of the proposals?
Well, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have an interesting one. They're talking about putting hot air balloons in the sky that would slowly release particles to block out the sun. And they say that by doing this, they could actually mimic the effects of a volcanic eruption, and by doing so, lower Earth's temperature by at least 4 degrees. Look, at the end of World War II, the US Navy had developed a tidal wave bomb in order to make tsunamis. Fast forward to the Vietnam War, the US Air Force was able to extend the monsoon season to flood the trail that was used by the communists. In 1996, the US Air Force released a document. It was called Owning the Weather by 2025. It was a 30-year plan, and they say that they're going to tap into the ionosphere in order to own the weather by the year 2025. And it's interesting when we talk about the ionosphere, because we have, of course, have the HAARP transmitter up in Alaska, these ionospheric heaters. There's one not too far from where we are now in the north of Peru. And the way it works is they use phase array antennas to beam billions of watts of radio frequency up into the ionosphere. And then they can bounce it back down, beam it back down to Earth anywhere they want, and heat up the land and heat up the sea and create earthquakes and hurricanes. But 1996, the year this document was released, is an interesting year because that's also when you start to see the overhead spraying in the US and in all countries where there are US military bases, the fake clouds, and it's only increased exponentially since then, so that in parts of California, like where I was, you don't even see the blue sky. The airplanes come in the morning, and everybody that sees the photos compares it to fumigation.
Are these just contrails?
Well, that's the official account, although official agencies deny that geoengineering is in course. They describe a scenario where they say they would like to do it, and if they were to do it, it would look exactly like what critics of geoengineering say they've been observing at least since the end of the 90s, or mid-90s. The problem is you have to explain why the clouds, the fake clouds, are staying in the sky all day long. and if you're in a mountaintop or on a mountaintop or in a small town, it's not really logical to assume that there's going to be airplanes flying all day long, leaving loops 5 minutes in either direction. This is the chemtrail phenomenon, and this is why we're showing the photos. So geoengineering is the biggest elephant in the room, and lab tests worldwide prove that the lethal particles used in these programs are raining down on all of us, contaminating every breath we take and every bite that we eat.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. That's the end of our episode. We're looking forward to seeing you in next episodes. Goodbye.